Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the Sorta Stupid Sports Podcast. We're really happy to be here. This is a group of 5 friends we got here coming around this mic at our living room table to talk about sports of all sorts. We call ourselves the Sorta Stupid Sports Podcast because none of us have credentials. We don't know what we're talking about, but we enjoy talking about it. So what we're going to do is we're going to introduce ourselves first, tell you a little bit about who we are, what we do, what our favorite teams are, whatever we want to talk about, really. And then we're going to dig into our format, talk about the different topics we've got, and then, we'll get rolling. So I'll start off. I'm kind of sort of your host. I'm keeping this crew of people in check, making sure that things stay on topic, stay on time. My name is Matthew Shiflett, and I am a Steelers fan. I mostly watch the NFL. I'm a Steelers fan. But I also watch some esports, if you want to call those sports. The guys can debate on that if they want.
No.
Hey, listen. Hey. All I'm saying is maybe I get like a 5-minute segment at some point. It's called like my esports corner.
I'll allow it.
Anyway,
no longer than 5.
No longer than 5.
Because we got actually sports stuff.
Yeah, we got things to get through.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, I'm Matt Shiflett, and who's next?
We're going my way. So I'm Noah McCune. My favorite teams are the Cincinnati Reds, the Cleveland Browns, because I like to hop around Ohio, and I'm more of a college man, so I like the Ohio State University. As far as NBA goes, I don't really have a team that I follow. I'm more of a player follower.
Who do you like to follow?
I like Steph. I like the Greek Freak because I'm not going to try and pronounce his name on a podcast.
Antetokounmpo.
Okay, well, you can show off all you want. Giannis, you got right.
Yeah, Giannis hard. Yeah.
But just stuff like that. And then Blaine.
Oh, hey, my name is Blaine Smith. I'm a huge football guy too. I started, with Ohio State, and they are still my favorite football team of all time. But when it comes to the NFL, I guess you could call me a Bengals fan, but they really suck at managing their organization and how they, present to the fans. So if they don't fire Marvin Lewis by the end of the season,
gotta keep that tangent on the low, man.
I'm not gonna be a Bengals fan. So this is gonna be a fun experience because I don't have fandoms in baseball or basketball either. So.
All right, I'm Troy Gant. I'm pretty big on all sports. Really, I Yankees fan in baseball. In the NFL, I am a Giants fan, and unlike Blaine, I will not leave my team for a season.
We got real fans over here.
But, the other guys don't like it so much, but in college, I am a Michigan Wolverines fan.
What are you doing here?
How did we allow this?
That's a curse word.
And in the NBA, the Great Cavaliers. That's the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's my squad. That's about it about me.
Hello, my name is Darren Will, and like Troy, I like all sports. Basketball is my favorite sport, but football would be the Baltimore Ravens. So we all represent the AFC North here, and then the random NFC East team. So, little diversity in there. Kind of. Baseball is your champions, the 2018 World Series champions, Boston Red Sox. So, love Boston. Basketball is also the Boston Celtics. So I'm a Boston fan besides football because I don't like Tom Brady.
Yeah.
That's
I
fair.
think we can all agree with
We
that
all
at this
don't
table.
like Tom Brady.
So that's our introductions. So a couple of ground rules because this is the first episode of the podcast. I want you guys to know what you're getting yourselves into. So I guess ground rule number 1 is probably no politics, I think. We're going to keep politics on the down low. If there's like a political topic that comes up, like, I don't know, Colin Kaepernick kneeling or something, we'll talk about the topic, but we're not going to go off on tangents about what we think about it or whatever, because you can hear that wherever else you want.
We just don't care anymore.
Yeah, we don't care. So politics are no-go. The second kind of ground rule we've got is we're not going to yell at each other, talk over each other. We're going to be respectful.
This is a first take.
Yeah. We're going to be respectful for the most part, unless your opinion is just wrong. But we're not gonna get into shouting matches, so you don't have to worry about your eardrums being bust out. I think that's it for the ground rules. Did I miss anything?
So far, I think so.
And like you said, we're going to try to not talk over each other. This is our first attempt.
Yeah.
At this, so
we're also not great at shutting up sometimes, so you might just have to deal with that.
Wow.
All of us.
See how it is.
Everything's Blaine.
Yes.
So this episode, we're going to be focusing on the NFL today, just trying to keep it simple, one topic at a time, since we're getting really into the nitty-gritty part of the end of the season. So we're going to start with this week's recap, so we just recap the scores and some of the highlights of each game. So we're going to go kind of around the table and talk about the different games throughout the week. I think we're starting today with Troy taking it away with the Chargers and Chiefs.
Yeah, it was a last-second drive by Phillip Rivers. Chargers ended up winning 29-28. It was really just a grinded-out football game. There wasn't really a lot of excitement besides that ending. I mean, there wasn't a lot of running, which was kind of one of my questions when it came to the Chiefs. Now that they don't have Kareem Hunt.
Yeah.
And so I was wondering if the running game would affect their offense, but they pretty much look the same. I mean, when you have somebody that can run a 4.2, that definitely helps you out. But, Mahomes was 24 for 34, had 243 and 2 touchdowns. Pretty basic standard what we're accepting from him now.
Yeah.
We just come to expect the best. At
Yeah.
this point.
It's weird that that's kind of a disappointment at this point.
Yeah, it's almost like, I thought you'd do better than that. But, Phillip Rivers did his usual thing, 26-38, 313, 2 touchdowns, including a game-winning drive, which I thought there were some questionable hits on Phillip Rivers. I don't know if you guys watched that game or not, but basically, yeah, there wasn't, besides throwing the ball, there wasn't much going on. So that's it for me.
Almost seems like a theme for this week.
Yeah.
Big games, I'll say the Chargers and Chiefs was exciting because it was close, but they were all really grinded out games.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of blowouts really.
In the big game category.
But I will say, who's the better team in the AFC West now? I mean, the Chargers, the Chargers do have that seed, and the Chargers played a more sloppy game. I mean, without Kareem Hunt, I think the Chiefs are kind of dropping off.
I think it's the Chargers because they have a better defense.
I would agree, and I think.
Oh yeah,
there's a lot more experience on that team as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I think all around, I think the Chargers are the better team in the AFC West.
Until I see the Chiefs actually do something in the playoffs, even though it's a different quarterback, I mean, still same coach and everything, I'm not just going to give them the Super Bowl right now.
Yeah.
I agree.
That's fair.
Losing Kareem Hunt was a big hit for him.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Next.
So I have the Texans and Jets the other Saturday. That was the first Saturday game. And so basically this game was pretty much DeAndre Hopkins. What a stud of a wide receiver he is. The second youngest person to 500 receptions. Larry Fitzgerald is the youngest. So
Wow.
Larry reached it 3 months ahead of DeAndre Hopkins. So
It's not even close.
yeah.
Wow.
DeAndre Hopkins had 10 receptions, 170 yards, 2 touchdowns. And he did really well for my fantasy team, so shout out to him. That's his third 150-yard game this season. And something else, Deshaun Watson's been sacked 52 times this year. Which
That's a lot.
is
That's a
lot.
big number.
That's
a
lot,
big
yes.
number.
Mhm.
And, I mean, the Jets, they played a good game. But in the end, the better team won. So
Which was?
the Texans.
And the score was?
29-22.
There it is.
The first one.
Yeah,
Cut us some
we're
slack.
getting used to it.
So we gonna go ahead and move on then?
Yeah, we're going to you, I think.
All right, so we're going to my team, not at Cleveland. It was the Browns versus the Broncos, and it was a 17-16 win by the Browns. In this game, Baker Mayfield, he didn't wake up as dangerous, but dangerous enough. He went 18 of 31 for 188 yards between 6 different receivers and 2 touchdowns with only 1 interception. Chubb had 20 carries for exactly 100 yards, including a big 40-yard run late in the game to, I won't say seal the game, because then they went for it on 4th down and didn't get it. But it helped keep the Broncos further away from their end zone, so it was a pretty big gain. Case Keenum threw 48 times with 31 completions for 257 yards and 2 interceptions, but he did run for a touchdown. So he had a game. Philip Lindsay was held to 24 yards on 14 carries.
That hurt my bench.
That's tough.
Yeah.
This Browns defense is looking good. It's getting ready for next year because I don't think they're making the playoffs. Also, as much as it pains me to talk about this, Jabril Peppers had probably his best NFL game
Great man.
to date.
Took him 3 years, but yeah.
He had one good interception in the end zone that he covered a lot of ground on and really helped keep the Browns in this game, and he had the game-sealing sack where the Red Sea just split right open for him to run right at Case Keenum. Oh, and also I have on here that the Browns made a 40-yard field goal. So that's an improvement
Whoa.
over
Step
the
in the right
beginning of the year.
direction.
Yeah,
Not
without
bad.
that we would have
Yeah.
lost.
Yeah, not bad at all.
Like the first 2 games where we lost because of field goals.
Where you could be in the playoffs right now.
I don't want to talk about that.
But moving on, we're going to stay in the AFC North versus the AFC West. We're going to talk about the Bengals playing the Raiders. So the final score, it was in Cincinnati, and Cincinnati won it 30-16. Some notable things about this game. Boyd is the first wide receiver not named A.J. Green to hit 1,000 yards for the Bengals since 2009. Mixon,
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, yeah.
Joe Mixon is still a stud. This is his second 100-yard rushing game in a row, where he had he was on 27 attempts for 129 yards, and he had 2 touchdowns, I do believe, too. Now, I do think, however, Jeff Driscoll looked really, really bad. He was missing wide open throws, like over the middle.
Well,
I mean, of course. I mean, he is the backup, but like he was missing wide open deep throws, and like passing really wasn't any good this game at all because Derek Carr's passes looked really, really, really sloppy. And I mean, I don't know. Jeff Driscoll ended the game with 42% completion, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception.
That's terrible.
That is really, really, really bad.
I actually wonder if you think Derek Carr is kind of like a one-season wonder. He had,
No,
a good
that was Jeff
season.
Driscoll.
Yeah, I
That
know,
was-
but like on the other side there, Derek Carr hasn't had a really great year since that.
I mean, he's
I'll
been
say he
playing-
hasn't earned the money.
no,
No,
not yet.
he hasn't. I'll agree with you on that. I don't know. But yeah.
He also has lost a lot of weapons,
Very true.
defensively and offensively.
Yeah.
I will say, though, Derek Carr is 299 pass attempts without an interception, which is pretty good.
That's pretty impressive.
That's probably the longest streak.
It is
Yeah,
no,
well,
it is
Rodgers-
now,
Rodgers.
because
Aaron
Rodgers
Rodgers.
just snapped his.
And
but-
I'll say it takes skill to earn that much money. Like,
Yeah.
for somebody to want to pay you that money, you have to have at least some bit of skill.
There's got to be
So-
something there.
Hopefully they hold on to him.
I mean, think about the receiving core like this year compared to what it was
he's
even
got-
last year.
his receiving core is Jared Cook. I mean, Jordy Nelson hasn't been playing.
I don't think he even wants
well.
to play for the Raiders anyway.
He doesn't. I think
pretty
he's
much
out
quiet.
after this next
Yeah.
season. But
Makes sense.
in a game where, as a Bengals fan, you kind of wanted them to lose so that they could get a better pick, and then they go and win it, it's kind of like, oh, come on.
I mean, I think your coach is just fighting for his job, so he has to
He
win
is,
to
but
prove that he can.
It sucks, but it is what it is.
But I mean, he has 10 years. Is he really fighting for his job? that
Well,
much?
fair. They can fire him at any
That's a
time.
huge
though.
contract. $100 million.
And then hire Hugh. You already got him there.
Yeah.
No, we're talking about Marvin, not.
Yeah. I mean,
They're
Marvin
not
Lewis
gonna
has a lot to
fire-
prove to win. I feel like at this point.
They're not gonna fire John Gruden after 1
No,
year.
no.
Hey, Gruden's got a plan.
Yeah.
Gruden does have a plan.
We will
It's
see
got-
it in a couple years.
He's got 3 first-round picks. So
Yeah.
I mean,
As long as he's not like the Browns of old and screw up the first-round picks. then
it's
they'll
like
be
John
fine.
Gruden's plan.
Not anymore, baby.
Not anymore.
Trade away everybody you love for all the picks.
All right, so moving on to the next game, we've got the Falcons beating the Cardinals 40-14. This is one of the few blowout games of the week we had, and it really was a blowout. The Falcons just never let off the gas. They went into the last 3 minutes of the game being up 40-7, and then finally the Cardinals managed to score a garbage time touchdown. I guess didn't really mean a whole lot. The standout player that I kind of want to point out here is Tevin Coleman. He ended up with 11 carries for 145 yards and a touchdown. That is a 13.2 yard per carry average.
Jeez, that's
Pretty
it's
good
like we're
day.
I can do
That's
it.
a number.
I mean, I'd take 13.
it's like we're in college. You
Yeah,
know? That's
whatever.
like that's a college stat
Sometimes.
or a
The-
Madden stat.
The Cardinals defense just looked absolutely horrendous
It did,
all game.
Like the Cardinals defense.
Yep.
as it should.
That's all I got to say about that one.
Moving on.
All right, I had the Packers and Bears game. The Bears ended up winning 24-17. Just like the other games, real grinded out, But these teams are, very, very fierce rivals, so you can kind of expect that game, struggling offenses. Aaron Rodgers had 0 touchdowns, which was pretty surprising to me. But he did have 274 yards, which
Not
isn't
bad.
too terrible of a game.
Yeah.
But another game where nothing was really going in the running game, and, but Trubisky actually had 235 and 2 touchdowns, which isn't terrible for him. I mean, I think there's weeks where you can see what they see in him. So I mean, I don't know if he's going to turn it around one of these times or not, but
I just think their coach knows what he has and knows how to work with it.
it's just it just seems like, and Chicago's running game was a running game that was kind of working at the beginning of the season, and it seems like it's really just halted.
Although,
Jordan Howard hasn't done
I thought
much
Jordan
this
Howard
year.
had a good game. Did he not?
He had 60 yards and a touchdown.
That's not
It
bad.
isn't terrible,
It's
but
pretty good.
Just another day at the office.
actually, I guess we get kind of lost with how great some of these people. I mean, Saquon Barkley's
Yeah.
having 135 and 2
Right.
touchdowns every week. So, I guess the good old 60 yards and a TD gets lost.
I
on this
mean,
stage.
that's pretty good.
Well, and off of that win, the Bears do clinch a playoff spot, so it's pretty.
Yeah.
They clinched their first division since 2010.
Yeah.
And
Which
Khalil
is-
Mack got a sack without his hands, which was pretty impressive.
What
Just
can't
fell
that
backwards
man
on
do?
Aaron Rodgers and still got a sack.
What can't that man do?
Fun fact about the Bears clinching the playoffs. That's the first time, or clinching a playoff berth. That's the first time they made it to the playoffs since 2010, since they clinched it.
Yeah.
But Matt Nagy, Coach of the Year.
I don't see who else. I mean,
Yeah.
I
you
don't
could
think
say
that-
Andy Reid. You could say
Sean McVay.
Sean McVay, but he's kind of fallen off these
Greg
past
Williams?
few
He
weeks.
has.
Greg
Cut back Coach of the Year.
I mean,
the Colts head coach.
oh yeah,
Frank Reich.
Yeah, he's
Fair.
been doing pretty good.
Fair.
With what they
he's
have.
turned that team around mid-season.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's going to be an interesting one. I mean, like you said, we just gave you several names there that I really wouldn't be upset if any of those guys won it. So
I
Yeah.
feel.
So I had the Ravens and Buccaneers, and I thought it was a little closer than I would like it to be, but it was 20-12, and the Ravens got back in the win column after that little one-game losing streak they had. And they had 242 rushing yards. They are the first team since 1976, the Steelers, to have 190-plus yards in 5 straight games. So Lamar Jackson
Like
has
rushing
really,
yards?
has really opened up that rushing attack for them. Now this, I found really impressive. Gus Edwards, their rookie running back, has 100 straight carries without losing a yard.
Jeez.
an
Wow.
NFL
That's pretty
impressive.
That's a current
That's
active
impressive.
streak.
Yeah.
And their defense, the best defense in the league, points-wise, is only allowing 18.5 points in the NFL.
That's crazy.
I'm sure the Bears are probably close to it too, but for now,
Ravens are turning it up this
the
season.
Ravens might be a scary team if they make the playoffs.
I don't think anyone wants to play them in the playoffs.
Yeah,
I would
they got to
agree.
make it, but yeah, they have the run game, special teams, and defense.
yeah, I mean,
That's all you
defense,
need.
especially in the playoffs. I mean, that's when defense
Cold
shows
weather
up,
and
you know.
everything. Yeah,
I mean, the only thing that they need to start, doing is trying to figure out how to pass the ball.
which Lamar's improving every game, but I mean, right now they have a formula that works and they're winning. So
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, some weapons have to step up too.
Yeah.
Michael Crabtree's kind of been a disappointment this year.
He called you
Lost.
out.
I'm saying he lost the game
Come
against the
get me,
Browns.
Chris.
He dropped the touchdown pass, but it's fine. It's fine.
All right, so now we're going to be heading over to Indy, where the Cowboys played the Colts. And you want to talk about defense. This was a shutout victory for the Colts,
Which-
23-0.
You never hear defense and coach in the same sentence.
It's been a while.
The Colts defense is kind of
It's good. It's
They're
getting better.
They're
yeah.
stepping up.
They look good.
So in this game, Dak Prescott he threw for 39 times, had 24 completions for 206 yards and a pick. Ezekiel Elliot only had 18 carries, and I know that's still it sounds like a lot, but not when you're Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah.
Need to
Like, that's
feed him.
I mean you gotta give it to him as many times as possible. He had 18 carries for 87 yards and 7 catches for 41 yards, and I realize you're getting him the ball through the air as well, but I mean he's a running back.
We'll be talking about that later on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Foreshadowing.
Another surprising stat: the Cowboys defense had 0 sacks on the Colts
Yeah.
offensive line.
Ooh.
They have a
That's
Our
incredible.
offensive line's getting a lot better.
The Colts have an offensive line now, and they have Andrew Luck in the backfield. That's scary.
I'm sure the Giants would like to have an offensive line.
We'll get there.
And something else that's pretty surprising: Andrew Luck only had 192 yards and no touchdowns. And again, we say only 192 yards, but that's a fairly low passing yards for this league, this offensive league right now.
Yeah.
But Marlon Mack had 27 carries for 139 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he carried the load for the team there. And T.Y. had 8 catches for 85 yards. Another game where he almost runs the length of the field and still doesn't get in the end zone, but they'll take it where they can get it. But the real story for the Colts defense is their rookies. Darius Leonard is an absolute monster. He had 11 total tackles. Tyquan Lewis, who has apparently just decided to play football, had his first 2 sacks of the season. And George Odom had a game-clinching pick. A diving interception off a tip pass, which was a pretty impressive play. So I think the Colts are looking scary. They still need to make the wild card, but I can absolutely see that happening the way they're playing right now.
Moving on, we have your Sunday night game in the Rams versus the Eagles. This game was played in LA, and Philly upset the 11-2 at the time LA Rams. They beat them 30-23 with backup Nick Foles under center. Now, the Eagles utilized a triple-headed backfield threat with Adams, Sproles, and Smallwood. Smallwood having 48 yards and 2 touchdowns. Sproles having 30 yards on the ground, and Adams having 28 yards. So, like, not much, but it was 106 total rushing yards with 3 rushing touchdowns.
How many running backs have the Eagles had this year?
Too many.
5, I think? 4 or 5?
This is ridiculous.
Now, Gurley, speaking of running backs, had an all right night. Like, he had a great night in the receiving game.
And he had fantasy points.
He did. But rushing, he only had 48 yards on 12 attempts. He had 2 rushing touchdowns, which is pretty good. But, I mean, here's a fun stat line I picked out. In games where Todd Gurley has 15-plus carries, the Rams are 20-2. And in games where Gurley has less than 15 carries, the Rams are 2-5.
That's a bad look.
He did get dinged up this game.
He did. I will give him that.
He's just kind of injured right now.
But keeping on with fun stat lines, Jared Goff threw 35 or completed 35 passes on 53 attempts, 0 touchdowns and an interception, making him in the last 2 weeks in this 2-week game slide 55 for 97, 519 passing yards, 0 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions.
Ooh.
Solid.
So
Peterman would be proud.
Peterman would be proud. He also, speaking of our fun segment called the Nathan Peterman Player of the Week,
We'll get to that in a minute.
we will. But Goff had this beautiful, beautiful trip, fumble recovery.
Interception.
I don't like that they call it an interception.
It what?
but-
He
threw
threw
it.
Did he throw it? I
Yeah.
thought it just fell out.
No, he
I don't
threw
know.
it.
You know, there's a
But it was the most beautiful play I've seen in a while. Note, best stat of the week, Johnny Hecker 0 for 1 passing.
Hashtag not for the brand.
I think the
I hope,
Rams
please don't sue us.
really miss Cooper Kupp.
They
Cooper
do.
Kupp is
That's been
a
hurting
little
him.
underrated, yeah.
They also got dominated offensively, of course, because, you know, their defense was out there most of all. And Eagles, here's another fun stat line. This game is full of fun stat lines. The Eagles dominated time of possession. I couldn't give you the number or, like, the actual time that they had possession of the ball, but they dominated time of possession. And the Eagles are now 7-3 when dominating time of possession. So they're very much a time of possession team, grind it out. I don't know.
Foles MVP?
No.
Anyone?
No.
No one?
Moving on.
We'll see.
He's got another few games.
So we're heading to another game with some interesting stat lines, but for all the wrong reasons. We have the Redskins beating the Jags 16-13, where the 13 points from the Jags, none of them came from the offense. Yeah, D.D. Westbrook scored the Jags' only touchdown of the day off a absolutely beautiful 74-yard punt return to close out the first half. It was just rough for them. Kessler had a terrible day passing under center. He managed to lead the Jags in rushing yards, though. He went 9 for 17, 57 yards, and an interception passing. But compared to his 57 passing yards, he had 68 rushing yards off of 6 attempts, giving him an 11.3 yard per carry average. Solid. Yeah.
Did Fournette just not play in that game?
Just didn't produce.
Didn't show up.
Cody Kessler better than Cam Newton?
Oof.
Edit point.
Yeah. So yeah, after you subtract the yards lost to sacks, the Jags ended up with under 200 yards of net offense. And then Washington ended up closing out the otherwise lackluster game with some, I guess, last-minute excitement. They kicked a 36-yard walk-off field goal to win the game. It was just a sad attempt by both teams, and it's a good thing we won't be seeing much more of them, is all I'm going to say.
Skins could still make the playoffs.
They could.
Somehow.
Theoretically.
How did that happen?
Like, put an asterisk on that, because it's not going to happen.
They started out really good. They were like 6-2 or something, and then everything happened.
I mean,
to their quarterbacks.
I would say the division's wide open with the Vikings loss, or not the Vikings, the Cowboys loss. I mean, how many wins do the Giants have? They have 5, right?
We're out.
5-9 Giants, 7-7 for Redskins and Eagles. Cowboys are 8-6.
So I mean, it's a wide open division as of
If
this
the
point.
Cowboys-
The Giants needed the Eagles to lose out, and
Yeah.
happened,
Yeah.
so.
They're the only division that doesn't have a clinched spot yet.
Not
the-
true. The
I was
AFC
gonna say-
East doesn't either.
Was the
Patriots
AFC
did.
North?
No, I meant for the NFC.
I was gonna say
yes.
I don't think the AFC North does either.
Well, the NFC is that division's the only one that hasn't have a clinch.
Yeah.
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 Sorry, I
Yeah,
worded that poorly.
the NFC is pretty clear cut,
No one's-
except for that one.
No one's clinched in the AFC yet. Well, I mean, the Chargers and Chiefs clinched playoff spots, but not.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
not. They haven't clinched
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
division.
Yet.
And I get the luxury
Yeah.
of talking about the Giants getting shut out this weekend by the Titans 17-0. It's kind of a weird little opposite thing going on here. The Giants could throw the ball. The Titans couldn't throw the ball. The Titans could run the ball, but the Giants could not.
Yay,
Which is
Saquon.
interesting. You know, Mariota was only 12 for 20 with only 88 yards and no touchdowns. Not a great game. Yeah. Derrick Henry was actually 1 for 1 with 6 yards.
Hey, solid.
Derrick Henry.
But
putting
of
the
course,
team on
Derrick
his
Henry
back.
did exactly what Derrick Henry does apparently now.
Just all of a sudden.
33 carries for 170 yards, 2 touchdowns, which is
That's their formula.
a lot
I
of
mean,
carries.
5.2 carry average. I mean, I'll take that on 33 carries.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
First down every other play.
If he would have done that like at the
And,
beginning of the season, you know.
And Eli didn't look too terrible. It was 21 for 44, 229, no touchdowns, unfortunately. You know, the 0 score. And did have 1 pick. And the most surprising thing was Saquon Barkley with 14 carries and only 31 yards.
Wow.
Which was very surprising to me. Fun fact for the running game, Riley Dixon, the Giants punter, was actually the number 2 rusher.
Nice.
Off of a fake punt. He had 14 yards on 1 carry.
What a man.
Yeah. But Eli, you know, he didn't have the great stat line that you're looking for, but it was nice to see him. He spread the ball around. I mean, he hit 7 different people, which is
Hey, he's coming
good.
back.
Yeah, I mean, so, you know, hopefully the Giants can get him an offensive line and, you know, we can stop with the Eli Manning slander. that we deserve.
Did you see the Titans do their Remember the Titans?
Yeah,
routine?
I did like that. It made me a little upset because, you know, I'm a Giants fan, but
Wait.
it was just like, I had to respect
Yeah.
it.
Fantastic film.
So I have the Seahawks and 49ers, and for me this was the surprising outcome of the week when the 49ers beat the Seahawks. It was 26-23. Chris Carson for the Seahawks had a good game with 119 yards rushing and a touchdown, and Doug Baldwin had 2 touchdown receptions. And there wasn't really much that happened in this game besides they won the overtime and the 49ers won. But Richard Sherman got a victory against his old team, so that probably felt good for him.
Yeah.
And that's all I got about that game.
It's just a shock. Like I don't think anyone saw this one coming at all.
No, but every year the Seahawks, much like Ohio State does, drops a stupid game that they shouldn't.
Yeah, but at least they didn't drop this one by 20 to 30 points.
I don't think
Yeah.
the 49ers are.
Stop talking.
I think the 49ers aren't as a terrible team, but they shouldn't have won this game.
Yeah. So anyway, let's go ahead and move over to Minnesota, where it's freezing cold, and apparently the Miamians didn't feel very comfortable there.
I mean, they're playing indoors, though. I mean,
It
Oh,
wasn't a
yeah.
dome.
That helped.
It was a dome.
It helped them to score 17 points, but didn't help them when the Vikings scored 41.
Yeah.
So Ryan Tannehill was at the game.
That's all.
He showed up and was sacked 9 times
oh,
and had a 4.0 QBR. So
Dang. That's
pretty
wow.
that's solid. It's a solid
He
performance.
could probably play for the Jets.
If a QBR is like a GPA, then it's
Yeah.
pretty good.
So does anyone here know who Callan? I don't know how to say his name.
Ballard?
Ballage?
Yeah,
Ballard?
I just know he's a rookie.
Callum Ballage.
He had 12 carries for 123 yards, leading the Dolphins because I believe Frank Gore went out with an injury.
How many running backs do they have?
3.
They got that
Bentley?
Kenyon Drake.
Kenyon Drake. What happened to Kenyon Drake?
I don't know.
Was not his game, apparently. It was,
Hasn't been a
He just
season,
didn't.
really.
Yeah, he
He was
had the
supposed to-
Miami Miracle.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's all that matters for them.
Yeah, that I think they were hungover from that game. Their first score came off a Fitzpatrick pick six. Fitzmagic pick six. I apologize. He's got it trademarked.
No.
He's got it
No.
trademarked. Look,
Stop.
I'm just saying.
No.
I don't follow
Are
these
you
rules.
talking about like, Minka?
Yeah.
Minka Fitzmagic?
Yeah.
Yeah, he actually has that
We
trademark.
call him Fitzpatrick here because he hasn't earned the name of Fitzpatrick.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I mean,
Ryan.
I just thought I'd throw it out.
Ryan
is
has
the
earned
only
name of
Fitzmagic.
Fitzmagic.
Anyway.
Free Ryan Fitzmagic.
Okay, I feel like
Put him
if
on a better
Fitzmagic was
team.
on the Jags, they would be a playoff contender.
No,
right
because
now.
the Jags
Super
have no
Bowl.
wide
Yikes.
receivers. But the Jags don't have any wide receivers. They're terrible.
Oh.
Anyway, Cook had 19 carries for 136 yards and 2 touchdowns, so it looks like he's back to his
Yeah, that's
normal
good to see.
form. The Vikings defense had 2 different players have 2 sacks, which is pretty impressive. But when you get 9 sacks, it seems like someone's gonna have to double up at some point. At one point, the Vikings were up 21-0, then allowed 17 unanswered after the half.
Jeez.
Well, they scored 10, and then after the half they scored again on a big run, and then they didn't score again, and the Vikings scored 20 more points. So
Wow.
yeah, that's how that went.
Looking a little better than their Monday Night Football game.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Vikings are still holding on to that playoff spot. Just so weird how after playing the Seahawks so poorly, and the Seahawks lose to the 49ers, and the Vikings just demolish a high on their own miracle Dolphins team. It's just NFL, man. It's crazy. It's crazy stuff.
Speaking of Monday night games, we're moving from last week's to this week's with the Saints versus the Panthers in New Orleans. Now, it was a crazy game. The score was insane. It was 12-9.
It was boring.
Yeah.
There was only one passing touchdown, not by a quarterback. Christian McCaffrey on
That's
a
right.
beautiful halfback pass, might I say.
Can't that man do?
Well, there was no one around it.
He literally, it was a 50-yard pass. They all, like, the Saints defense fully expected run. Christian McCaffrey runs out to the right and just lobs it to, oh crap, I can't remember the receiver's name, but he ran all the way to it for the end zone. Speaking of throwing and the Panthers, Newton is still injured, if we haven't noticed. His throwing motion is terrible. He looks awful. He can't complete passes more than, 20, 30 yards down the field. He looks bad, and I think they need to pull him. I think they need to, get him out of there, and he needs to get that shoulder rechecked.
Well, their playoff chances are pretty much done.
They're dwindling.
They've slid 6.
They've lost 6 straight, so it's not a good.
No.
Well, see, I would keep blaming it on the shoulder, but it's like he's had games where it just seemed like this guy was absolutely
he
untouchable.
started out,
That's true.
He started out on
Like,
Well,
fire.
yeah, he did, and then that's been the biggest story of this 6-game slide is the shoulder and how bad it looks. Now on the flip side, Breeze's passes, while he didn't throw a touchdown, they looked beautiful. Now
Breeze,
that's all I gotta say. Breeze is phenomenal.
The goat.
He's looking good. He didn't have his best game. Technically 2 picks, but one was on a 2-point that the Panthers ran back, which it was a beautiful play by the Panthers, might I say. But overall, Drew Brees had an alright day. I think the best play of the game, however, for me, was Cam Newton dropped back the pass, went to throw it to the end zone, throw it to Devin Funchess, and Eli Apple right over him picked it off.
No, it was thrown by
beautiful.
Eli Apple.
Yeah.
It was a
It
beautiful
was.
throw.
It was
But-
beautiful.
Yeah, that
I
was.
mean, it's pretty bad when Devin Funchess is your number 1 wide receiver.
whoa.
Well, I mean,
Go Bucks.
You look at that game, and you can see Drew Brees making really good passes, but the
didn't
Carolina
amount to
the Carolina defense
Sure.
played so well.
They did.
They were breaking up passes. That's how he threw that first interception.
It was a tipped interception.
yeah, because the defense was all over their wide receivers all night.
And I mean, if you look at some of the throws, I noticed this. Every time he would hit him right in the hands and it would fall out. So a majority of his drops were, drops, not incompletions. It was a beautiful game to watch Drew Brees pass.
I mean, that game was kind of surprising me. Like, if you would have told me that was going to be a big defensive contest before the week, I would have not
From the
believed you.
Saints.
Yeah.
But
I mean, those have been pretty much 2 of the biggest offenses right now. I mean, not passing wise for the Panthers, but Christian McCaffrey's getting 180 yards and 3 touchdowns a game. I was very surprised to see that be so low scoring.
I believe like the last 5 games, the Saints have allowed 10 points a game.
That's insane.
That's impressive.
Impressive.
So their defense is coming at the right time.
Well, because the thing is, if somebody's like, great defenses, the Saints isn't exactly the first one to come to
Right,
my mind.
right.
But they're sneaky, they're like sneaking up there.
Remember when they let the real Fitzmagic throw for what?
Like
Almost
400
500 yards?
yards.
Yeah, that was.
They dropped 48 points. It was like 48-40 or something like that.
Yeah. So,
But that's in the past now because the Bucs
Yeah.
are irrelevant.
You want to talk
Yeah.
about another defense that only allowed 10 points a game?
Oh, my.
We're going to my boys. The Steelers beat the Patriots at Heinz Field, 17-10. Yeah, somehow. I'm not gonna lie. I honestly have no idea how we did this and pulled it off. But yeah, penalties actually. That's how we did it. Penalties played a big role in this game. So the Patriots racked up 14 penalties for 106 yards. Steelers only had 4 penalties.
They must have cheated.
that's so backwards.
Now
Yeah,
here's the
it is,
thing. This
yeah.
is only the second time since 2004 that the Patriots have had more than 12 penalties in a game. Bill Belichick must have been fuming because it was so just disorganized on the side of the Patriots. Offensively, both QBs threw some nasty picks. From Ben, I wasn't surprised. That's what Ben does. That's what Ben does best, is just throw dumb picks. But Brady's fourth quarter lob was really out of character. It was a terrible pass. Just no idea why he threw it. But yeah, it's the way the game goes. Standout player, definitely Steelers running back, Jalen Samuels. I
Who?
guess he's our third string if you consider Connor the second string, if you consider Bell the starter, which we don't.
Not anymore.
Going into the season, he was going to be the third stringer. But anyway, yeah, he steps in for an injured James Conner, goes 19 carries, 142 yards. No touchdowns, but 142 yards against any team. The Patriots aren't bad. I mean, yeah, it was a good game for him.
They don't have a great D-line.
No, but he was also coming off of not playing the game. So
Well, something that's hilarious to
played
me
last
is that the Patriots are 9-5, leading their division by 2 games, and they're on a 2-game losing streak. And there are Patriots fans just flipping out at a 9-5 season
Yeah.
right now, leading your division by 2 games.
How spoiled you must be.
And that just really
As a
I wouldn't
Browns fan, I wish I had that problem.
yeah.
Boston sports fans take it really seriously.
That just shows
Don't
the
want it.
domination that they have had. Over
Yeah.
these
This will be
years.
the first time they haven't won 12 games since 2009.
Wow.
Nutty.
It's insane.
All right, so that's all the recaps we've got from last week. Moving on, we're going to talk about our upset of the upcoming week. Just what's the game that we think is going to be an upset? I guess last week, if we had to pick, it would have probably been, that 49ers game over the Seahawks was a big upset. So this week, we're going to go around the table. What is everybody's upset for the upcoming week? And we'll start with Noah.
Well, I have the Eagles over the Texans, which I think is a fairly safe pick, to be completely honest.
Not
The
a huge upset, but an upset.
Yeah, the Eagles are on the up and up with Nick Foles coming in, obviously, the much better quarterback. Leaving out,
Carson Wentz
throwing
probably
out.
want to beat the Rams.
No. Disclaimer: I'm joking. But the Eagles have really been stepping it up as of late, knowing that their playoff hopes are dying, which is crazy to think that the Super Bowl champs have their hopes dying in any sort. But they're going up against a Texans team that came in sleep mode against the Jets and they won the game, but they didn't win it very prettily. It was a fairly ugly game for the Texans. They had Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins, which kept them in that game, and everyone else was just kind of there. So if the Texans want to keep playing like that, coasting their way to their playoff, which they're in, then I think the Eagles have a good shot of going in there and getting a much-needed win.
That's a good point.
My upset pick of the week, and this was very, very criticized when I brought it up, but
As it should be.
in my opinion, I think the Bills, even though, again, it is at New England, and New England's coming off a big loss,
2 big losses.
yeah, I think the Bills could go into Foxborough. The way they've been playing, I mean, for me, I didn't expect them to win 5 games.
I thought they wouldn't win a game.
I didn't either.
when the Ravens beat them 47-3, I was like, oh.
I mean, if you want to talk about an upset, you're really stretching it here.
That would be the biggest
that would be
upset.
an upset, but my thing is, if you think that Psycho Tom is not going to come back to Foxborough after dropping 2 in a row, I mean,
Listen, you thought that about this week in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, but it's also 2 away games. He's coming back home now.
But
They always have a good defense, too.
the Bills have one of the underrated defenses in the NFL.
Josh Allen just adequate.
Josh Allen is rushing pretty well, like not comparably to Lamar Jackson, but Josh Allen is playing pretty well.
He's an adequate quarterback.
He's not adequate, but he's rushing pretty well.
I mean, he's an improvement.
He has no one to throw it to, but yeah.
Fair, but I think, and this is a stretch. Don't get me wrong, but you guys, if they win, I called it. Just saying.
Yeah. However, the Patriots have won their last 4 meetings against the Bills.
And quite honestly, that's a surprisingly low number.
Yeah.
But they haven't played Josh Allen yet. Because I believe the first meeting was against
What? Nathan? No.
Derek Anderson, maybe?
Maybe.
And they barely beat the
Taylor?
Bills.
Who?
That's true.
Yeah. It could have been anyone.
Yeah.
anybody
Maybe,
but
I
Tyrod
could be
Taylor
wrong.
or AJ McCarron. The only 2 quarterbacks.
mean,
Hey,
they
listen,
won't.
AJ McCarron's my favorite.
This
yeah,
this
he's
would
been
be a historic upset you're predicting.
Yeah.
Because the all-time series is the Patriots 73, 43 and 1. That's a split for an NFL caliber team.
There's 43 wins.
They're gonna do it. They're gonna do it. Calling it right now.
All right.
We'll
You
check-
mark my words. Calling
We'll
it
check
right
back
now.
next week.
Moving on.
I cannot wait to laugh at you.
Yeah.
I call this one to go over then, I guess.
All right, I guess call me a home team guy, but my upset pick is the Giants over the Colts this week. Colts are looking real good. The Giants are actually coming in -9, which is a very big spread in the NFL.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, but I think the Giants are a team that if Eli can get a little bit of protection, I mean, we saw 2 weeks ago it's nothing for them to put 40 on a team, especially if you're not minding your P's and Q's, you know. So I think the biggest thing is really just going to be keeping Darius Leonard out of the backfield because, I mean, he is
Which
just
is hard to do.
absolute. Yeah, I mean, when you're a rookie and you get a nickname like the Beast, you know, that's pretty good. But I think, you know, Odell Beckham Jr. is coming back, should be back that week. So, I mean, hopefully the offense, you know, I don't think you're going to hold Saquon Barkley to 33 yards, 34 or whatever it was too many times.
Yeah, definitely not every game.
So yeah, I think that's a plausible upset in my mind.
I could see it. A lot better than I see Blaine's.
Yeah.
My upset is the Seahawks over the Chiefs. Now, the Chiefs, don't get me wrong, they're a good team, but I still think without Kareem Hunt, there's just something missing there. And the Seahawks are at home, and they play fantastic at home. And I think they'll be able to run the ball well. I think they'll be able to control it, and Russell Wilson will make enough plays to knock off the Chiefs because I think they'll be a little angry they lost to the 49ers. So that would be my upset of the week.
I think that's a pretty solid pick. It's
I
hard.
think
It
it is,
is
too.
so hard to go into Seattle and win.
Yeah.
I mean,
Ask the Vikings.
look at when they played a really good defense last time against the Ravens. They almost lost.
I mean, that's true.
So I mean, and the Seahawks, what were they? They're at least a top 10 defense.
They're like
if-
10th, I think.
yeah.
Like that.
So,
Close,
like-
yeah.
Better than expected.
They might struggle.
This is supposed to be the rebuilding year, and they're the 6th seed right
Yeah,
now.
they're
Oh, God.
they're looking at playoffs.
It was going to be the Bucks over the Cowboys, but I don't trust Jameis Winston in anything, so I couldn't fully go with that pick.
That's,
Plus, the Bucks are like 1-6 on the road, so
Yeah.
Not a great stat.
no. If it was Fitzmagic, then maybe.
well, I mean, if Fitzmagic is in the game at any time, you know,
Oh, you know.
it's a dub.
Yeah.
Once
It's
again, free Fitzmagic.
Want him on a better team.
We want him back. Give him back to us.
All right, so my upset pick of the week is going to be the Ravens over the Chargers. I think I'm the only one at the table here who's not like head over heels for the Chargers in one way or another. I know that's dumb, and I really don't have an answer as to why. Like, it's like people who go and like pick their March Madness picks based off the mascots or something. It's like it's not.
Those people don't count.
Yeah, but like there's no reasoning behind it. But I don't know. I feel like again the Ravens are coming up. Action Jackson is playing really well, and he's getting more comfortable every week. I think, as much as it pains me to say it, because I'm a Steelers fan that has to watch out for these Ravens coming up, they look good, and I think they have an opportunity to, maybe make some noise.
This is his first test against a good defense, though, so we'll see what happens.
We'll see.
I was tempted to make that pick, but it's so hard to put anything up against this Chargers roster.
Yeah.
They easily have the best roster in the NFL when healthy.
Chargers don't have a great home crowd, so...
They don't have a home crowd.
They're still moving. Here, you know what? While we're freeing Fitzmagic, can we get teams out of LA, please?
Yeah. Not Las Vegas, though.
I don't care.
Yeah, just
let the Raiders do whatever they want. We don't need 2 teams in LA.
Just bring it back to San Diego.
Yeah,
Honestly. They'll welcome him.
Okay.
Will they know?
I think they'd be pretty mad. But wherever you want to go, I'm tired of saying LA.
It is interesting, though. Both LA teams after the switch have been doing really well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, would you want to leave if you're a superstitious kind of guy?
But it's just so hard, not, to me it's almost like the Chargers don't have a fan base.
Exactly.
It's like,
they literally don't.
Well, it's like when you think of that LA stadium, you think of the Rams.
Yeah.
And the Rams,
even though the Chargers are a great team too.
Well, the Chargers don't have a stadium; they're playing on a soccer field.
It's like
and the Rams are having like a $5 billion stadium built.
Something like that. It's nutty.
Ridiculous.
I mean, they're obviously there because they're gonna make money, and I get that it's a business. Like I've made that argument in like other situations where it's it's a business. I get it, but gosh, we didn't need 2.
No.
I get it's a big city, but we didn't need 2.
If anything, move the Raiders there.
Yeah.
Then you can get all your vintage LA Raiders gear,
There
and
you
then
go.
then you make money that way.
Get the NWA back.
So we start the campaign for the Las Vegas Chargers.
We're gonna do like a 3-way swap.
Yeah, let's just move it around a little bit.
Las
Everybody wins.
it doesn't like their theme song doesn't sound good though. The Las Vegas Supercharged,
I don't have a clue what you're talking
I have
about.
no idea.
They had
I
a
literally
theme song
know.
way
I
back
thought you
in
had,
like the 80s.
I thought you'd have a
It was
fan base to
like
have a
the
theme song.
Supercharged.
I'd say we just moved them to Utah.
Yeah.
Not like North Dakota, man.
There you go. I like
The
that. Somewhere where
North
no one's
Dakota
at.
That's
Charged.
what I'm saying. If we
Same
move
thing.
them to Vegas, we can just put them in the desert. At least they'll still technically Vegas.
There you go.
All right, moving on to I think what's going to be my most favorite segment of this podcast, the Nathan Peterman Player of the Week Award. So, is there anyone who wants to talk about why we've named this the Nathan Peterman Player of the Week Award?
I'll go. Basically, Nathan Peterman, you're the worst. And
Love you, brother.
so respect, and I'll respect you, but you're the worst.
He made his money.
We yeah, he made his money. But so showing love to you by naming this segment after you. So this is basically other people that we think might have been the worst of this week. And it doesn't really be that they have a bad game or anything like that, but really you just did something that we thought that Nathan would do. So,
Deserved recognition
Yeah.
of some
So-
kind.
So we'll have usually 3 nominees per week, and then we kind of go around and vote who we think deserves the Nathan Peterman Player of the Week, which is a really good honor.
Oh yeah.
It's the Razzies, but of sports.
Exactly.
I mean, we give away one award on this podcast, and you win it. So
Your award will be coming in the mail. P.S. There will be no award.
Like really fine print, really quick. At the bottom. It's like, there will be no award coming in the mail for you. All right, so I guess I'll take it away with the first one. We've got the great Tom Brady being nominated for the Nathan Peterman Player of the Week. Basically, the reason I put him up here was because his interception was just not Tom Brady.
No.
It was bad.
No,
It was a bad throw. Like,
that was a Nathan Peterman throw.
I wouldn't make a throw like that. Sorry, Tom Brady. You're great. As much as I hate to say it, you're really good. But that throw was not. I'll give Joe Hayden credit that the pick itself was a beautiful catch. Beautiful catch.
Oh yeah.
But the throw was just not good.
Not necessary.
Nope.
So our second nominee is my very good friend Jared Goff.
Gotta
with
give it
his,
to the resident
his
Jared Goff hater.
Beautiful trip, fumble, INT, whatever thing. It was like a beautiful pirouette in a ballet.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. And did they not return that for a touchdown? I believe they did.
No. They just took it back.
They took it back. Well, it was a good return on that turnover.
still, like, after you pick it up, just take the sack.
So my thing is, if he
Yeah.
falls, I mean, we could just kind of call that a sack. So really, he had like a sack, a fumble, and an interception. And and it was all a fluid motion too, which is really weird.
It's like he practiced
It
it.
takes a lot of talent. It takes a lot of
Every
talent.
He
negative
dropped the
thing.
ball trying to pick himself up as he picks the ball back up.
Every possible negative thing that can happen on a pass play happened in one play.
To one guy.
Yep.
Beautiful.
And the pass looked like a one-handed chest pass in basketball. It didn't look like
We're
a
not
first-round draft pick throwing a
I
ball.
don't know what was going on in his head there.
There wasn't a lot going
There
on in
wasn't
his
a
head.
lot.
There was,
oh my gosh,
oh
I got
no,
it.
there are people running at me. I'm scared. Mom.
All right, so
I mean, I feel like you have to.
yeah, I guess I have to. We have Chris Boswell. We're just going back to that Patriots Steelers game. Chris Boswell missed yet another field goal. I believe his field goal percentage is under 60%,
Which is terrible.
or something.
That's
it's like
terrible.
he's missing a third of his kicks. It's bad.
So wild.
Like, he went 1 for 2 on the night, and granted, yeah, the last one he hit ended up not clinching us the game, but kind of sealing the deal, I guess. But he's just not good. He missed he missed like a 30-something yarder, 32-yarder, nailed a 48-yarder. So I don't know, but it was bad.
I mean, that's one of the most drastic turnarounds
Yeah.
I've seen for a
Yeah,
player. He was Mr. Fourth Quarter last year. I mean,
Yeah. He
was.
there's a lot of games that the Steelers don't win last year if Chris Boswell
exactly.
isn't there.
And there's a lot of games that we don't win this year.
Exactly, because Chris Boswell is there. And
was
so,
the
like, it's just
fourth
wild that
killer bee
turnaround.
last year.
Yeah, he was the fourth killer bee.
bee.
Now he's just killing us.
You guys want to hear something super fun?
No.
Last week, wow. No, last week, the Steelers worked out kicker Kai Forbath.
Is he not already on a team though?
Nope. And they told
Probably
him,
a reason why.
hey, you should wait. Chris could screw up again. And he screwed up
You
again.
telling me no one's going for Aguayo?
Oh, man.
He's still out there. Nick
You
Folk
know,
also
so-
still out there.
Really?
He's
Kai
probably like
Forbath
the,
is signed.
Kai Forbath?
He plays for the Jags.
That's what I thought.
Then it was,
I don't think they were working out Kai Forbath.
they worked out somewhere.
Edit point. We got fake news by Blaine.
Can we get a counter in the edit? That's a 1.
Can we get a Nathan Peterman podcaster of the week award for Blaine for not knowing his stats?
It's
Well, actually, maybe we leave this in and just through the podcast we count how much fake news Blaine gives us.
New segment.
New segment.
So Blaine's counter is at 1. Right?
So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and start off with the votes here. I think it's got to go to Jared Goff. That was just immaculate play. I don't care how he did the rest of the game, and he didn't do very well the rest of the game. But just off that play alone, you gotta give him some recognition for that.
I would like to take a note. I just looked it up. It was Kai Forbath. The Jaguars kicker is none other than Josh Lambo.
I just looked at an article 2 days ago. That
Like,
Kai
literally,
Forbath
Kai
had 2 field
Forbath
goals.
was.
I don't know.
Did we find fake news on the podcast?
This is from
I don't know what you're looking
Steel
at.
Curtain. So this is a Steelers,
Oh, so that's credible.
This is
Yeah,
Steelers
So
page.
Russians?
But Jeremy Fowler of ESPN tweeted, Kai Forbath had a strong kicking workout with the Steelers, and the team is keeping him on hold while they figure out Chris Boswell's situation. Thursday's practice could be big for Boswell.
But he plays currently for the Jaguars.
Okay,
It says
maybe
right
we
here.
need to find out when Forbath was signed.
signed?
Yeah, that's
Because I thought Lambo was the Jags kicker. Maybe he got an injury.
that's
so they brought
weird,
in Forbath.
man.
Forbath was signed by the Jags this week.
Ah, that
There
there
we
we
go.
go.
There
There
we
we
go.
go.
So we're
Wow.
gonna take these past 5 minutes and condense them for you. Kai Forbath was tried by the Steelers. Apparently, he was also tried out by the Jaguars, and the Jaguars took him. So
Because-
the Steelers are kind of back to square one, hoping that Boswell puts it all together for the rest of the
What a
season.
crazy situation we just found.
What
And,
crazy.
yeah.
And Blaine's
Injury.
fake news counter has been reduced back to 0.
Congrats.
Kind
bud.
of.
There
There you
Congrats,
go.
bud.
There you go.
Nice.
You're
All
welcome.
right, all right,
Told
all right.
you. I
So-
know what I'm talking about.
Back on top.
Anyway, so Noah voted for Jared Goff. I too vote for Jared Goff.
Are we all voting for Jared Goff? Let's be honest.
I'm going to go ahead and say yes. I'm voting for Jared Goff.
Jared Goff.
That was one of the worst plays I've ever watched.
Yeah.
in
But it
my
was so
life.
beautiful.
So the first unanimous,
Yeah, first
and
unanimous.
the first,
The very first unanimous pick
Jared Goff.
for the Nathan
There you go.
Peterman Award.
Congrats,
Congratulations.
You're the worst.
Can we make that a drop, please?
Put in
You're the
sound
worst.
bites.
You're the worst.
All right, so after that nice and fun segment, we're going to move on really quickly to some news topics from the past week. We've got a handful of news that we want to talk about in the NFL world. Wentz's back is broken.
Yikes.
NBC Sports says Carson Wentz has a stress fracture in his back and will need 3 months of recovery, so he's done for the season. We're going to talk about the Wentz versus Foles debate a little bit later because that seems to be a hot topic right about now, but you're stuck with Foles whether you like him or not, so whoops. What do you think his odds are of doing well for the rest of the season, just popcorn style real quick?
I don't see a problem with it. I mean, if he plays like he did in the playoffs and the last 2 games like last season, then they're not going to have a problem.
But if he plays the way that he played at the beginning of the season, they're going to have a problem. He played that way last night. To be honest, he only had 270 yards and a pick.
Well,
But they got the win, though. So.
Yeah.
But that was all on their running game.
My thing is when your starting quarterback goes down, you can do a lot worse than Nick Foles.
Yeah.
You can. I agree with you on
He's
that.
probably
So-
one of the best backup
Yeah, I mean,
quarterbacks.
I would
So I
agree.
think the Eagles will be all right.
Yeah.
Making the playoffs, I don't think they will. But
They got
It
a
can happen.
really good shot.
Yeah.
It could happen.
they have to win out. So
They have to win out, and the
Vikings.
Cowboys have to lose another game.
Yeah.
Which
We'll
I
see.
could see feasibly. I could see
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
It's not out of the question. So, second bit of news we got. The Vikings fired their offensive coordinator, John DeFilippo, on Tuesday. This was right after their 21-7 loss to the Seahawks on Monday night. So they fire him the next morning. Next thing you know, they bounce back and score 41 points.
Yeah, I'd say they made an improvement.
Definitely
Yeah.
an improvement. They beat the Dolphins 41-17. So, quarterback coach Kevin Stefanski will be calling the plays now.
People in their names.
Yeah. But it's working out for him. So best
far,
of luck to
yeah.
you.
Just give the ball to Devin Cook.
Yep.
It's pretty good offense right there.
Yeah. I mean, it seemed to work pretty well.
I'll bring this up for the, because we're talking about the Vikings offense. I mean, what do we all think about Kirk Cousins, the
Well, here's the
experiment?
thing, though.
this year?
Their quarterback coach is calling the shots now. So do you think that Kirk Cousins is going to have an opportunity to, do better?
So
Well, it's because I have something here that's kind of interesting to me. Kirk Cousins had a game against Detroit in Minnesota this year where he only had 164 yards, 1 touchdown. He had an interception and a fumble.
Ooh.
And they're going into Detroit this next week. So, I mean, it's kind of...
Different coordinator, though.
Yeah, but so that'll really show like a difference because
Yeah.
Detroit
Yeah.
is not exactly a great team, and you're
Right.
having
Yeah,
games
we'll
like
actually,
that
we'll
against
actually
them.
get a really good idea of how different this team is.
And I mean, here's the thing. Mike Zimmer, the head coach of the Vikings, did not like John DeFilippo. The only reason they hired him was because he felt pressured to, this is, I guess, speculation, but it's not. He felt pressured because John DeFilippo was the hot, coordinator on the market. He was just coming off the Eagles, who just won the Super Bowl. Yeah. He really liked this Mike. Is his name Mike Stefanski? Is that his name?
Yeah.
He really likes him, and just look at what happened last week. His first game as coordinator, they win 41-17.
It's looking good, so we'll see.
But yeah, I still don't think Kirk Cousins is worth $84 million.
No.
Guaranteed.
I say
he could break his knee, never play another down. They owe him 84.
I say give
Why
him
would you
time.
ever make a deal like that in a league like this?
The Vikings made Case Keenum look good in Sam Bradford.
I just gotta say,
so...
his agent must be the best agent
Oh,
in the
yeah.
world.
Oh, yeah.
I want that guy too.
we all do.
All right, and our last little bit of news is Brandon Marshall was released
What a man.
after 1 month on the New Orleans Saints. He never played a snap.
He's never been in the playoffs either.
No,
Yeah.
is this the end of the road for the 34-year-old who never made the playoffs?
I think this might be it.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, we're here on a couple experiments now with him that just haven't panned out. Maybe, some guys, certain positions like quarterback, Tom Brady can play till he's 40, whatever.
Yeah.
But a position like receiver where you're just constantly driving and getting hit. I mean, it's hard to be that good at 34.
Yeah.
And he didn't do anything with the Giants last year, did he?
No, I mean, and Odell Beckham
was
Jr.
injured.
was injured the whole season, and Sterling Shepard was injured for periods of the time.
So
So
he
he
was
was the
the
main guy at certain points,
still,
and he
yeah.
still just never showed up.
And what are the wide receiver needy teams that would actually pick him up? The Jags.
Nah.
Yeah.
I
They're
mean,
not gonna.
I mean, they
I
got to
mean, if
work
you're
on
in
the
a
quarterback situation
Yeah,
first.
if you're in a situation like the Jags, you're not looking for a veteran because you don't exactly have anybody for that veteran to teach.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
no one else there.
Yeah.
T.D. Westbrook's their best receiver, and he'd be like a third receiver on those teams.
Yeah.
probably.
But Yeah, so sorry to see you go, Brandon Marshall. It was a great career, but
Yeah.
Did play for
It
a
is
winning
pretty
team for a
disappointing.
couple games.
yeah. All right, so this last section of the podcast is going to be our discussion topics for the week. We get our debating together. We'll get sweaty. So
A little bit of raised voices.
yeah. So our first discussion topic: Wentz or Foles. So how are we phrasing this one exactly?
So here's my thought on this. So it's obviously Foles for the rest of the season because Wentz is broken.
Mm-hmm.
But let's lay it out like this: if the Eagles make the playoffs, I won't say if they win a Super Bowl. I won't say if they make their conference championship. I think if they, if they get to the playoffs and win the first game in the playoffs, is it time to give Foles more of a shot?
They did.
Okay.
Here's the argument. They did. They didn't want to start. I mean, I think Carson was healthy by the beginning of the season.
But I don't think
And they
he
gave
was
him a
ever.
3-game start.
He was.
Well,
wasn't
plus
ever
with Carson
really
Wentz,
given
they
that
don't
shot.
really want to they don't want to put him in there 80% if they think
No.
that's the future. So that's
Yeah.
why Foles played in the beginning of the season.
And they never really gave him the shot. It was always Wentz. Wentz was always going to be the starter becoming the season.
It was
They
just
weren't trying out Foles for a starting role.
Yeah.
right. It was just a matter of how long do we wait until he's healthy.
Yeah.
Okay, this is my thing with the Wentz versus Foles thing. I don't think one playoff win is enough for Foles to,
No.
get that recognition.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if Foles comes in and does it again, we have to have a conversation.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
no way.
I mean, I know that the Eagles say that they're committed to Wentz long term,
He was
but
the-
the thing is, you have to start looking.
I mean, he's also gotten injured 2 seasons in a row. You look at
Yeah.
players who get injured consistently. You've got
Not
Gronk,
great
you've
for the
got-
first
yeah.
few
You've got
seasons of your career.
Olsen. Yeah. You've got RG3. Like, how far?
Here's my argument on this. So I think we all know that Carson Wentz is the better quarterback, right? We can all admit that. But I think when Nick Foles is in the game, it's just a completely different offense around him. It makes it so you have to outcoach the other side because you don't have a generational talent in at quarterback that you can just say, "Hey, take over." You have to use every other piece of your puzzle, I guess, in order to win a game. So you're more involved in the game. And they beat the Rams, which is saying a lot considering that's their 3rd loss of the season at home.
And I mean, the thing about Nick Foles is he's never been bad, in my opinion. Like, I don't see why he never got more of a shot as a starter elsewhere. Because you think about his 2013 season, he went 27 touchdowns to 2 picks, almost 3,000 yards. Like 27 to 2 is an insane number.
Well, I mean, he went to the Rams, I think, the year after that, and he really struggled.
Yeah,
And
he
so-
did. He went
or 2 years
13-10.
after that.
Probably finished 7-9 like they always did back in the day.
Yeah, but is
Yeah.
that more of a Jeff
5 and
Fisher
11.
sort of thing?
Yeah, exactly.
I think that was honestly more.
Well,
Jeff
it's hard to
Fisher.
tell. I mean, you had that. You had Case Keenum was there. Case Keenum was the new kind of hot kid. Maybe there was pressure. Like if there was any struggle from Nick Foles, hey, get this guy in the game.
Yeah.
And then you have Jared Goff coming up and everything. So the Rams situation there was kind of hard to put on any of the quarterbacks at that time.
Right. I don't know. I personally think Nick Foles should have been given more of a shot throughout his career than he's gotten. Like you said, with a good team, good coaches, and he's got that now. I think if the Eagles would just commit to him for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
But it's also hard to commit to him when you have Carson Wentz as the other option. That's the problem.
It shows that a good system can really make a quarterback. Or a different style of a system can be better for certain guys.
Right.
I mean, we saw how bad Nick looked with the Rams, but he's in a completely different system with the Eagles, and he's won a Super Bowl
With
already.
a much better coaching staff.
Yeah, so it's just.
But we know Blaine loves Carson Wentz, so this is really painful for him to hear us say, yeah, he deserves a bit of a shot.
Well, I won't disagree with you, but I would say a smart organization, if he does do this, a smart organization would trade him to a different team. I feel like that would be the conversation that we're going to have.
See, I think it's almost a if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing, because if you go with Foles and you trade Wentz, and now you don't have the good backup that you have if you run Wentz first and then have Foles as your backup. So it's what do you do? Because I guess the whole wait until Wentz gets broken and then put Foles in and let him carry is working out.
So
Yeah.
It's not sustainable.
Nick
but
Foles
it's
is
working.
also 30 next year.
True.
here's the
So you have to
thing.
think about that.
If we want to talk about what happened last year, let's talk about what happened this year. Or let's talk about what happened last year. It happening again this year, yeah. Let's talk about what happened. He wins the Super Bowl, right? He comes in beginning of the season. Yeah. He comes in beginning of the season. They play the Falcons, right? They only win the game by 6. He only throws a pick in that game. His completion percentage was 55. He only threw for 117 yards. Not a great game.
Fair.
Next game comes in, they lose. He has a better game, yeah. But he throws 1 touchdown. No interceptions. Game last night. 2 nights ago. Goes in, has a good completion percentage. How many of those were check downs? 270 yards, 1 interception. No touchdowns. His quarterback rating was an 89. I mean,
It's not bad.
It's
It's
not
not stellar.
but
it's
a
not bad.
great quarterback rating, I think, is 100. I mean, if the max is 158.3,
Right.
89 shouldn't cut it as your starting quarterback. Now, I'm going to look at Carson's stats. Carson, yeah, he's been broken. I mean, that doesn't cut it. But he's had, 3 touchdown performances. He's only thrown 3. He had 1 bad game where he threw 3 picks, so that's 6. He's only thrown 7 picks on the season. And he's played all of the games from week 3 to week 14.
So what's his QB rating though?
Like his QBR for this season or his career,
This season.
Regular season 102.2.
Okay.
which
that's
is
pretty good.
Really,
That's pretty good.
That's I would say average.
21 touchdowns to 7 picks.
That's pretty good.
It's a good KD.
And I mean,
if we're gonna talk like nerds here, come on.
and I mean, this season
We will.
Carson has had his best completion percentage overall that he's had ever. Granted, it's a short season, but he's at almost 70% completion.
Yeah.
That's insane. I mean, considering the record is going to be set by Drew Brees, which is 75%, 5% off of that.
Not bad.
Pretty
Not bad
good.
at all.
But you got to think this is his second year with a season-ending injury.
That's what I feel like we keep coming back to.
But I mean, let's take it to basketball. Let's look at Derrick Rose. Guy won a regular season MVP,
Yeah.
and
The
until
shooter
this
was fine.
year, really, where I think good for him, he's been coming back.
Yeah.
He's done nothing. Like, it's hard. Like, you can have a superstar talent, and if they keep getting hurt, they're leaving you in this situation all the time.
Plus, a back injury is nothing to mess
Oh,
with.
no.
So,
not.
yeah.
He needs to make sure that he, definitely proficiently rehabs that. I don't know.
Also, Carson Wentz was 5-6 as a starter this year too. So
Their team's banged up though. You
But
can't.
I'm just saying, but
Now Carson
wins or
Wentz
losses always reflect on a quarterback, no matter.
It may not be fair, but that's just the way
That's just how
it's
it
looked
is.
at.
Yeah.
I mean,
So then are we going to pin a lot of these losses on Aaron Rodgers and say that he's not as great as everyone says he is?
I think Aaron Rodgers' problems come down to coaching.
That's it's
That's a discussion for
Injuries.
another time.
Yeah,
It
that's a
is- it
discussion
is-
for another time.
so.
but-
Let me ask this: Nick Foles to the Jags?
I think that could be a viable.
Honestly, I could see the Eagles trying to get a lot out of him, but also, if you're going to see that Carson Wentz is going to keep getting hurt, I'd at least want to make sure that you get one healthy season out of him before you go trading your back.
That's a good
away.
point.
But my thing is, like, Jacksonville, what do they have to give up?
a first
Draft picks.
Draft
Yeah.
picks
I don't.
I mean-
for a 30-year-old.
But I mean, is somebody going to be willing to give up a first-round draft pick
No.
for a 30-year-old quarterback?
If he goes out and wins the Super
But
Bowl,
are the
I
Eagles
would-
gonna
I
want
would-
anything
I would
less?
assume.
Mm.
I would say maybe.
But that's the thing, though. It like
If he wins
even
the
if he
Super
wins,
Bowl,
even if he wins the Super Bowl, it's gonna be hard to get trade capital out of him.
Yeah.
Like you might wait till his contract is out and
crazier
sign him.
trades. have
Maybe
happened.
the Jags are just blowing it up because I heard they want to try to trade Jalen Ramsey this offseason.
That's
So
true.
maybe
Didn't they
they're
say
just
that
trying
from
to
New York?
Yeah, even though he's not.
Yeah. All right,
Well,
well,
great, but
we should probably move on.
yeah.
Leave that one be. So keeping on the topic of quarterbacks for a little bit longer, how long do Tom Brady and Ben Roethlisberger have left in the league? We thought initially that these two were actually closer in age. They're not. Tom Brady's 41, And Ben is only 36 in comparison. So there's
Big
a
Ben
5-year
does not
difference.
look it.
And I think
No.
Big Ben is done
Honestly,
a lot
yeah.
sooner than Brady.
Oh yeah.
I
His
thought he
style
was
of
done
play.
last year.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing: Brady takes care of himself. Like he has his own like routine that has
own
obviously
diet.
done him well.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing with like if you ever see like Ben Roethlisberger leaving a game, he looks like the Michelin Man. All the ice on him. I mean, he has ice on
yeah.
every square inch of his body. So
Yeah.
it's just I think Ben's done.
I think if Ben
Maybe this year.
doesn't make the playoffs, he's done. I think if Ben wins the Super Bowl, he's done. If he makes it pretty far in the playoffs but doesn't win it, do you think he has something to prove and comes back for another
That's
year?
a good.
I mean, there's always an ego thing with a guy like Ben Roethlisberger. I mean,
Yeah.
somebody that has
Yeah.
had such success.
Oh,
I mean, you win a Super Bowl, you can feel comfortable going out on top. You don't
That's
make
what
the
Peyton Manning
playoffs.
did.
Yeah.
You don't make the playoffs. Maybe you think, maybe I just don't have it anymore. But I mean, you get to an AFC Championship and you lose there. I mean,
You got something.
there's
got
a hunger
that.
left there.
I think
You
it
were
all,
so close to that.
I think it all really depends on how the Steelers draft this year. Like if they don't even get a quarterback within like the first 2 to 3 rounds, then
Well, they took Mason Rudolph.
Yeah,
in
they
the
took
third
Mason
round
Rudolph last year, and they have Joshua
yeah,
Dobbs. So
they-
I mean,
Neither of them are like,
Alright.
yeah,
I mean, it's
But I mean, those
Something.
those are guys that did have a little success in college. Though,
yeah,
so,
fair.
I mean, Tennessee lucked their way to a lot of games.
yeah.
I don't think Ben's gonna win another Super Bowl. Honestly, I just don't. I mean, he turns the ball over a lot. That's always the way he has, but he just doesn't look as good as he usually does this year. I mean, they have some good weapons, but I think if he doesn't retire this year, then next year.
We did say that last year, though. Too.
Yeah, we
Like,
did.
He did not look
Here's
good.
Even though
the
Peyton
thing,
Manning did win it,
though.
his last Super Bowl, and he didn't really do much in the playoffs besides manage the game.
Here's the thing about Ben Roethlisberger. He's always going out there and being like, "Oh my gosh, my injuries. Oh my gosh, this."
I was
that, and the
I was
other."
about to say
Like,
that he
he's
does have a
always
ribbon.
doing
A drama
that.
queen.
He is a big drama queen, and he's always like. I mean, I feel like last year retiring talks were a thing. I feel like a few years ago, like it's been a few years that he's talked about wanting to retire, and he still hasn't. So you never know with the guy. He could come back next year and look worse than he did this year.
So what about Brady? Because I don't think it's gonna be an age thing or a injury thing. Because when's the last time that guy's been hurt?
2011.
Like what?
I mean, he carried his hand
Okay.
out like last year, but
Well, yeah,
not enough to like.
Okay,
I
that
think it's
report
more-
came out forever ago or whatever about Brady where he said he wanted to play till he was 50, which, we all sat there and laughed and everything. But honestly, think in your head, if there was anybody in the NFL
That
ever
could.
that you think could play to 50, who is it?
yeah,
Brady.
no,
It's
yeah.
Tom
What?
Brady.
Adam Vinatieri.
That's true. Honestly, I think Vinatieri should play until he's under 50%.
That's the only time he should
play. Which, I mean, Brady even said, "I'll quote when I suck," which is a good
Yeah.
man.
Which might never
I think
happen.
Yeah.
his family has a big role in when he retires, like his wife and his kids and all that.
That's true.
Too. I mean,
But here's the thing: he could retire at any time he wanted to and
Yeah.
go out on top.
he has nothing left to prove.
No.
Like he's 5 rings. All right. I mean, if he wants one more,
He could honestly
But-
just be playing football right now as a hobby.
yeah.
Just for like, I got nothing else to do.
Well, I
Why
mean,
go
and,
home
and
and
it
be
shows
bored?
like he truly just this is his life. This
Yeah.
is what he does.
And he takes.
He takes pay
what he
cuts.
cares.
He takes pay cuts all the time to help them try to sign weapons
Yeah.
and stuff to get people around him. I mean, he's literally just there for the love of the game.
I don't think they have.
I
the
hate
weapons.
respecting that man.
I
but
think
you
he's.
can't not.
I mean, you
I
have
think
to.
he's regressing a little bit, but
He
not
is.
enough to be like.
So he plays
He's
till
not
he's
good
50,
anymore.
goes to the flag football league, keeps playing where he doesn't have to get hit, retires when he's 70.
Yeah,
Retires
I
when
would
he's
love to
90.
watch
What are you
that.
talking
Yeah.
about? He retires when he's 90 when he
It's
can't
like the big
push a
3
ball
in basketball.
25 yards.
In football, old retired people just play flag football.
I would watch it.
Yeah, I'd watch that.
Man, I love the big three.
Wait, isn't that a thing?
Probably.
Don't they have like a
I
flag
think
football?
they-
I
Yeah,
think-
they have a
Yeah,
flag football.
Vicks.
league.
It's
Wasn't Michael
Vicks.
Vick doing it?
Yeah, Michael Vick did an exhibition with it or something.
Yeah.
I mean, can you guys just imagine Tom Brady just slicing up these guys in the flag football league?
He'd actually have people to throw it to instead of.
He should retire tomorrow just to do that.
He would break every record already.
I wish Peyton Manning would go play that flag football.
Oh
league.
my god.
He's good with his commercials.
He can't.
I can't move.
He really can't. Be like,
I'm sorry, this could just be because I'm an Eli Manning guy, but Peyton Manning can take a 3-step drop right now.
Poor guy. No, he's got his amazing commercials. Love
Yeah.
seeing him on commercials.
I'd like to see him do some comedy. I'd love to see him do a comedy
I
show.
loved his SNL stuff.
Oh, yeah, he's a
I
funny
hate
guy.
SNL, but his stuff was hilarious.
So we all agree that Brady could probably play it to as long as he wants to.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Ben
At least another couple of years.
maybe a year.
Yeah,
or
like
two,
you said,
or
it's not going to be an
just-
age thing. It's going to be like, I'm
Yeah,
done
I'm
with
done.
this.
Carson Wentz might retire before Brady.
Ooh. Moving on.
Possible.
So our next question moves away from the quarterbacks a little bit. Are the Cowboys underusing Zeke Elliott?
Yes.
So here's the stat that we're kind of like basing this off of. Every time this year that Zeke has gotten more than 20 carries, the Cowboys have won every single game. Every time he's gotten 20 or less, they've lost, except for their week 2 20-13 win against the Giants. But other than that, when you give them the ball 20 or less, they lose. 20 or more, they win. Do they need to be giving him the ball more every week?
At least 20, 25 carries a game.
Yeah. I mean,
He's their offense.
Well, my thing is when you have a passing game that's struggled as much as theirs has, I mean, Amari Cooper definitely helps a lot. But pretty much the whole season, it's been struggling. I mean, you can't absolutely at all underutilize Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, you have a guy like that, you have to be just feeding him the ball.
and doing that opens up your passing game.
Yeah.
He does.
Feeding him, if you run him like 2 to 3 times in a row, and
For
then
good
throw it.
coverage, Yeah.
Well, yeah, but obviously, if he gets like 1 yard on 2 runs, you throw it the next down. But I mean, like,
Dak Prescott's been a little bit suspect, but I mean, you see when Zeke is performing proficiently,
He makes
so
Dak
is
look
Dak
good.
Prescott.
yeah, it opens his game up.
I mean, they were co-rookie of the years.
Yeah, they might as well have been.
Yeah, so I mean, when Zeke looks good, the passing game looks
Yeah.
good. Yeah, Dak looks good.
Because all you have is Amari Cooper. And if you lock him down, they don't have anyone else.
Well, you got Cole Beasley.
I mean, that's good for a 3-yard screen or slanting.
They have that Gallup guy who can kind of catch it deep, but like they're not.
And granted, they do throw it to Elliott every once in a while.
He's
And
become
if you
better.
get it to him on screens, that's all right. It's pretty much a run play when you're running a screen. It's just there's usually less defenders in front of you. But I think the only way you can get someone to respect the run game is to pound the football. And as soon as you get them to start respecting it, which they should come into the game respecting it against Elliott, but as soon as you get them to respect the run game, the passing just opens wide up. Especially when you have a guy like Amari Cooper who can just make plays out of nothing sometimes.
They have a good defense. Let them run the ball, take out some possession, and rely on their defense to win games.
Yeah.
Strategy works.
Yeah. But then the question is, do they lose on games where he doesn't get the ball a lot? Like, is it a chicken or the egg thing? Do you just need to give him the ball more to win, or are you winning because, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Okay.
He's their best playmaker on offense.
Right.
He is.
So,
So
But-
get it to your playmaker more. Why
yeah.
not?
All in all, yeah, their Cowboys are probably underusing Elliott because they're not just feeding it to him constantly.
Yeah.
More or
Yeah,
less.
I mean, look.
you
I
can
mean,
put in
look,
their backup a couple times. I mean, like,
yeah.
I mean, in Pittsburgh, when Le'Veon was there and was performing well, I think we could say he was probably the best player on that team.
Oh,
I mean, AB is amazing, but Le'Veon Bell is just
Yeah.
a prototype
like,
of what you want as a running back.
Ride the hot
And-
hand as
and-
long as he's doing well.
I mean, there were games where Le'Veon Bell was getting upwards of 35 plus carries.
yeah. It's like, if it's
So,
working,
yeah,
just
like-
keep feeding him.
Yeah.
And a lot of
and he's
people-
getting a lot of targets in the passing game. Like when you have playmakers, get them in space and
Yeah.
let them make plays.
That's something I hated, and I'm talking as an Ohio State fan right now, so I apologize to everyone at the table. But when he was at Ohio State, a lot of times they had him on a snap count. And I don't
Yeah.
know if anyone else here remembers the
Michigan
Michigan
State.
State debacle.
Yeah.
That's
They
why
had him on
prepared for the
when they
draft.
had him on a count, and like they had like 3rd and short situations where you ran JT Barrett every time.
Yeah, like what did he have? Like 8 carries in the second half. or
Yeah,
something like that?
and we were
you can't
losing.
be doing that.
And this was a team that could rival the best NCAA teams ever. Joey Bosa, Michael Thomas, Ezekiel Elliott, JT Barrett when he was playing halfway decently.
Yeah,
No offense, JT, I love you.
Hey, I love you. Don't worry. It's okay.
you're not great.
Shut up.
Zeke Elliott was
Darren
probably
Lee,
one of
like
the
it was
best
stacked.
running backs in college. Like that little 4-game stretch he had with Wisconsin, Alabama. Okay, 3
Oregon,
games.
yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like 200 yards every game.
Every game.
Like, that's against some good defenses,
Yeah.
too.
Like it just never made sense to me. And somehow, some way, the Cowboys are doing the exact same thing. Like I just don't understand
You know
how
what
you
they
can
say?
underutilize
Feed
him.
Zeke. Feed him.
Feed him.
He needs it.
Moving on, back to the quarterbacks. Does Phillip Rivers deserve MVP consideration?
I
More
think he
MVP
is
consideration.
the number one right now.
Oh,
That's bold. That is
Rivers?
bold. Yeah, but he's He's always been good, but this is probably one of his best seasons because he has a healthy team. And, I mean, they just beat the Chiefs, obviously. But Drew Brees has slacked off the last... I love Drew Brees. But he has slacked off the last couple of games, and he hasn't been performing, great. And Mahomes is doing great, too, but I'd still give it to Rivers.
Here's the thing. Like, I agree with you that Rivers absolutely deserves a lot of number one consideration. But the media is in love with Patrick Mahomes right now.
Gosh.
And also when you look at the fact that Drew Brees has never won MVP in his career, I mean,
Just give it to the
man.
man.
Rivers went like 27 for 27 straight one game.
He's had a great year, and
good.
he's got an amazing roster, and he absolutely deserves it. But gosh,
I think
to me, Phillip Rivers is kind of like, you remember like in college how Andrew Luck finished like second in the Heisman voting for like 3 years in a row? Like that's kind of how I feel like Phillip Rivers is. Like he's always so good, but then there's always one or two guys that are just immaculate that we're not used to seeing that from. Like somebody like Patrick Mahomes or something like that. So it's like the media always gets that look at them, even though this guy's still sitting it over here in California killing it.
So if we're gonna look at like the comparison, at least between Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers, we've got Phillip Rivers 3,950 yards, 31-8 for his touchdown interception.
wow.
Drew Brees is 31-5, so 3 fewer picks, but about 300 fewer yards.
Sure, that's pretty close. And then
But Brees has the better rating, 116 to 112.
And then Mahomes is probably obviously has more touchdowns, but
Mahomes has 45 now.
Patrick Mahomes' stats are at 4,500 yards, which blows the other two away by 500 and 900 yards respectively.
But Mahomes hasn't really performed
45
well
touchdowns,
in great games.
but 11 picks. He has the highest rating, 114. Sorry, he's in the middle.
Yeah, he's in the middle.
Mahomes
I wanna-
choked a little
This
bit.
is a really close race.
Yeah.
I want to bring this up to you guys because I feel like not a lot of people are talking about it, and it seems plausible to me. But I mean, do you think that Khalil Mack deserves any MVP?
I think he
consideration?
deserves a look.
I think he deserves
easily.
it over Aaron Donald.
Why?
Because I
over
mean,
Donald?
look what Khalil Mack has done to the Chicago
Bears.
Bears.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
I mean, the Bears were seen as just like this was going to be another year for us
Yeah.
to keep rebuilding or whatever, and now.
They're
For a
They
while
got
there was people talking like, the Bears are a sneaky Super Bowl contender. Like, I mean, he has completely one man turned that defense around.
I agree.
They have a really good defense,
Well,
but
yeah.
he has absolutely taken them up like a few levels.
You know, sometimes if you have a lot of good young talent like that, you need somebody like Khalil Mack that's going to say, hey, this is what we're going to do. You know, we're going to be good this year.
Plus, Aaron Donald, I think the Rams defense is allowing like 5 yards a carry, which is terrible. And he's an interior lineman, so like.
True.
Yeah, I mean, he has like.
Let's not say like he's bad.
It's not his.
No,
He's about to break.
He's one guy.
He's about to break the sack record, I believe.
Maybe it'll be close, but I still
And he's a defensive tackle, which is
impressive.
crazy.
Interior defensive tackle.
But you gotta look at Mack and like the way he's doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
Brian
No-
Urlacher 2.0. I mean, like, think about it.
I mean,
In a way.
I mean, I can see it. I don't know. It's just a close. It's probably one of the closest races I think we've had.
in a while.
It'll be
It's weird
hard.
because Tom Brady's not in the conversation.
Yeah.
He's always in the conversation.
I think it'll be hard for anyone to say that Patrick Mahomes doesn't like get it just because everybody's in love with him right now. But if we're being critical, then yeah, there's some contenders.
But just give it to Drew Brees already.
Yeah, but just give it
Please.
like let's have a disclaimer. We all love Drew Brees here. We all
Yeah.
think he's the GOAT. Like
cool guy.
It will be an immortal sin if Drew Brees never wins an MVP. I'm telling you right now.
goes to the Hall of Fame, no question, but never got an MVP.
yeah.
All right, so just real quick, out of the 5 rookie quarterbacks drafted in the first round this year between Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, Lamar Jackson, who do you think will have the best career?
Reading those back, Baker Mayfield, first pick. Sam Darnold, 3rd pick. Josh Allen, 7th. Josh Rosen, 10th. Lamar Jackson, 32nd.
That is such a hard question.
But all first rounders.
Is it though?
Listen,
Is it a hard question?
listen. Are you listening?
We're listening.
I'm
Okay.
listening.
Baker Mayfield has played great. He's got the Browns wins. I'm so glad that we finally have a quarterback. But look at the situation Baker came into. A much, much better roster. A much better defense overall.
Very low expectations.
Very low expectations.
Makes a
even,
difference.
Even as a number 1 overall pick, like everyone was, myself included, was like, really? Baker, and granted, I had a bias against him being an Ohio State fan, but like just a lot of people coming in were like, "There's no way he's going to work out," and he has blown away expectations. He had the bad coach at the beginning of the year, but whatever. He's worked past that, and now he's playing great. Sam Darnold, what in the world did he come into?
Yeah.
An absolute dumpster fire of a franchise.
I agree.
I mean, you're kind of seeing that with the Bills and the Cardinals
The
too.
Bills
like-
have a good defense.
Yeah, no, that's a fair
But, yeah,
point.
Yeah.
But all three of those teams have some rebuilding
No, yeah,
to
the
do.
Cardinals are probably.
I
the
would.
worst.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Sam Darnold's gonna be like the next Peyton Manning or something like a lot of people are like
I think
saying
I'll
about him.
career.
To me, Sam Darnold, his ceiling to me is Alex Smith. He's going to be a guy that I think he's going to be in the league for as long as, he wants
Yeah,
to. A 10, 12-year career, a guy that's just, he's going to win games, but, he's never going to be in that conversation.
Right.
I still think it's Baker Mayfield because what he's doing right now is pretty impressive with the people he had. Because they have Jarvis Landry and then,
Nick
Antonio
Chubb.
Callaway
But,
and Rashard Perriman
Callaway's
was terrible.
better.
Yeah.
Callaway's better than
They have a young
Yeah,
offense.
Perriman's catching balls now.
Which
But-
he never did in Baltimore.
Nope.
But they have a young team, right? Like the Browns
they
have the
do.
youngest
They
team.
do.
Oh yeah.
So they have a lot of room to grow, to improve, to synergize if they stick
I
around.
think Lamar Jackson could be good, but I don't think he'll be better than Baker or Sam Darnold.
I disagree.
I don't know. Do you think?
No, I
don't
disagree
know.
in the sense that I don't think Lamar Jackson is as good as everybody thinks he is.
Oh.
I think Lamar
you're going the
Jackson
other way.
because
Yeah.
everybody
That's not where I
compares him
thought
to
he was
Cam
going.
Newton.
I compare him to Michael Vick.
I was gonna say Michael
he's,
Vick.
he's not.
I mean,
Look at the
in-
rushing yards
I
he's
mean
putting
in
up.
size, in size and how he's built and how he
Okay.
plays the game.
Yeah.
Not in his stats. Yeah, he can rush the ball. But how long is that going to, work for him? I don't think that, Lamar, because he hasn't shown ability to throw the football yet. He can throw it, but he relies way too much on his legs. And in the NFL, if you're trying to do this long term, relying on your legs is not going to work.
RG3, rest in peace.
Hey, he's
Well,
still,
yeah,
still
but
kinda there.
He's on a
smart.
roster. He's
on
on
a
the
roster.
same roster as Lamar Jackson.
But
Which
he's
is
also-
why
Good
he's
coach.
there.
Yeah,
Exactly.
to coach him up.
Honestly, a guy that I wasn't very high on to begin with, but he might be my pick for this segment, is a guy that I compare to Cam Newton, and that's Josh Allen.
I think that's a much
I-
better comparison.
I would say, yeah.
He's
Yeah.
a big-bodied guy, and he's clearly shown us he's
run
got
the
the
ball
ability to
pretty
run the
well.
ball.
Yeah.
He's had one game with 99 rushing yards and two more with over 100. He's clearly shown that he has the ability to run the ball, and he can throw it. He's had probably in all those games that he had, those rushing games, he had over 200
Yeah.
passing yards, and he has zero weapons.
He's got an arm.
Yeah,
He's-
I mean,
Doesn't have any receivers.
so
But when you-
if you can put people around him, I think that's a guy that can have a lot of
Yeah.
success.
It was a
in
good.
this
I think
league.
it was a good pick for the Bills.
But that's the thing you got to look at too. Is it's not just the individual player; it's how well are the teams going to build around them. Because you talk about the Browns and the Ravens, they already have that foundation, so their careers are kind of already jump started.
It's helped them out a lot.
For someone like playing for the Bills, how much work has to be done for them to have
A lot for
their
the Cardinals.
see their true potential?
I love how none of us are saying Josh Rosen. Be honest,
I never thought he was that great. in
Well, I don't think
college.
there were 9 mistakes in front of him. to be
for
honest.
me,
Uh,
I did a Cardinals and this is Madden, I know, but I did a Cardinals franchise in the new Madden. I immediately traded Josh Rosen away. He didn't do anything for me. He wasn't fun to play with.
And I think a lot of his problem is he's not a good brand.
No.
He's an
kinda
outspoken,
cocky.
Yeah, he's an outspoken, cocky guy and doesn't back it up. And my guy Baker is an outspoken, cocky guy
He backs it up a
that
lot.
has backed it up.
He's feeling
on-
dangerous.
Well, see,
He
right
just woke up.
out of the draft, I was feeling really high on Baker, even when a lot of Browns fans were like, "What do we take?" And I try to tell a lot of people that he was really the only one out of these guys that had true success in college.
He's a walk-on.
But the thing is, think about what Oklahoma did. He took
Yeah.
them to the playoffs his senior year. What did USC do when Sam Darnold was there?
Lose to Ohio State. Garbage game.
Josh Allen was in Wyoming.
And we,
Yeah.
and
Rosen's in UCLA, another not great Pac-12
Hey,
team.
but remember how they beat Texas A&M?
Lamar Jackson did go to Louisville, and Louisville didn't have a great team either. Now they're terrible.
But
So,
That's
But it
true,
was,
they're awful.
but it was like, was there ever a time in college when he was there where it was like Louisville might be the team this year? No,
That's true.
there was times when Oklahoma was playing so well with Baker Mayfield that they were like, yeah, these guys will beat Alabama.
Yeah. And they could have if they had a better defense.
Yeah.
So we see, Baker Mayfield has potential. Lamar Jackson has potential. They all have potential.
Yes.
I mean, everybody has
Look
potential.
Yeah.
Look out for Josh Allen.
I'm just saying Baker's got a high ceiling. I think Darnold and Allen's are higher. But I love Bake. I'm glad we got him. Let's
Darnold's going
keep
to
rolling
be
with
good.
him.
Baker's another guy like Donald to me. I think he'll be around.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a quick out of the league.
No.
It's about time that we've been able to say that about a Browns quarterback.
Yeah.
I think, in my opinion, the player who's going to have the worst career is probably Josh Rosen, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
And then I would say, if we're ranking them, I'm going to go Josh Rosen, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Darnold, Baker. Like,
Really?
going
Wow.
up. Going
Yeah,
up.
but really,
Yeah, I think Darnold
Allen's
was the
impressed me
second.
a lot.
He
honestly.
has. But again, it goes back to running the football, how long is that going to work for you? Yeah, he's had some good games.
He's also not super accurate either. So
Exactly.
he's got to work on that.
You gotta look at. You also gotta keep this in mind. This is their first year. Teams don't have tape on them.
but you also have to remember that they're rookies and they've got room to improve.
Like
That too.
Jared Goff
On bad
improved.
teams.
Mitchell Trubisky improved.
Yeah.
They did.
They did.
They absolutely
I mean,
did.
Jared Goff was terrible his rookie year.
Jared Goff's still terrible. But
So we come back to
So
this
is
in a year.
Trubisky.
All right. So real quick, there's a report that Joe Flacco is probably done with the Ravens. It's pretty much Lamar Jackson's team now. Where do you think he'll go in the offseason?
ooh,
If
Okay.
a trade or free agent?
Retirement.
I was gonna say, does he go anywhere?
Besides the Hall of Fame, where's he going?
Excuse me, Joe Flacco is an elite quarterback.
Yeah, he is.
Said
we
no
already
one
talked about
ever.
that.
Yeah,
I
said
did.
no one
So
ever.
here's the question. The first question you got to ask yourself: who are the quarterback needy teams? You've probably got the
Jacksonville.
Jaguars. I'm sorry, but I would say the Giants are one of them.
But my thing with the Giants is Joe Flacco isn't the solution.
No.
If there is a problem,
Yeah.
which I don't think, I think there's more of an
The Giants
offensive
were
line
going for a young
problem than a
gun.
quarterback problem. But Joe Flacco is not a solution.
I
to
think
that.
he'd be a good
You're putting
backup.
another old quarterback into that same
Yeah,
system.
exactly.
You know?
I agree. I agree.
He is 33.
Yeah.
Flacco would be a good backup, but he doesn't want to play to be a backup.
No.
He
'Cause
doesn't.
still thinks he has time. Like, he'd be good for the Bills. Teach Josh Allen a little bit.
I would love
They're
that.
not going to bench Allen at this point.
No, I mean like to be a backup. Like he'd be a good, but he doesn't want to be.
He's
a
not-
backup.
He's not going to go. He's not going to go anywhere to be the backup.
I
He's
know.
And my
going
thing
there
is,
to be the
does
starter?
is that what
Jacksonville-
Jacksonville wants either,
I don't think so.
or do they want to get a young gun?
Is there really a
I think
team
it
that's
is.
just looking for someone to hold the team together until a draft comes up a year?
How
or
about the
two?
Redskins? If Alex Smith doesn't come back,
I could see him being a placeholder for a year.
But
or
see, the
two.
thing is, with the Redskins, he could be a good bridge. I mean, there's really no foreseeable future
That's true.
of quarterbacks on
And the
that team.
quarterback draft
Everybody-
right now isn't looking.
Yeah,
too
granted, the draft this year for
great. Not
quarterbacks
last year.
is not. Oh no,
Mm-mm.
no, not even a little.
Yeah, I mean, everybody on the Redskins roster, quarterback-wise, is pretty seasoned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you have Sanchez, McCoy,
But
Alex
Flacco's
Smith.
the one
You
who's
know,
probably the most successful out of those guys.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, he has a ring.
yeah. So I think it's not really who's a quarterback needy team. I think it's either somebody with a young guy that they don't exactly trust yet, or a team that needs a bridge.
So it could be a team that picks a quarterback early this
Mhm.
draft, but doesn't believe he's quite there yet,
Yeah.
and so they get Flacco and as a vet to hold the team together until they probably halfway through the season, which is what we're seeing a lot lately.
Like, this is going to be a Josh McCown with the Jets situation.
exactly.
Like
Who-
just bridging them
How
to
about-
getting
The
to
only
Sam
difference
Darnold,
is
right?
McCown is very willing to be that guy.
Yeah, exactly. We
How
don't know if
about
Joe
the-
Flacco's going to take that role
Who's
well.
this team? Who's this team though?
How
Here's
about the
question.
Buccaneers? Do they still try Jameis Winston?
I think
I think they're done with Winston.
He's
Well,
been
see-
playing well.
Well, see,
though.
my thing is what they did by going back to Ryan Fitzpatrick is they immediately showed that this isn't the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Fair.
the second that Ryan Fitzpatrick started struggling, they throw Jameis Winston in. I'm
And
fine
then-
with that. But when you go back to Ryan Fitzpatrick, that shows that
Exactly.
you don't trust this guy,
You don't trust
that
any
you
of them.
spent that high draft pick on.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's got off-field issues.
He does.
He's got on-field issues throwing
Yeah.
to the other team.
And Flacco doesn't
constantly.
have the off-field issues like Winston. Or,
No. I think, yeah, that'd be another good
And he
place.
would have, some decent targets. I'm not saying the Buccaneers would be like a great team, but
Right.
What about?
they'd be better with Flacco.
Let's stick with the 2015 draft. What about the Titans? Because we're talking about Winston. Is Mariota the guy, or is Flacco the guy there?
I don't think Mariota's a guy that you give up on. Like
And
that.
they have a new coach, so he's.
I think
This is
you
his first year with Mariota.
You give him 1 to 2 more years to see how Mariota does.
And Vrabel's really turned around the Titans.
Really
Oh
has.
yeah,
so,
it's
I
been
mean,
a surprising year for them.
Yeah, I
The
mean,
ball to Derrick Henry.
honestly, it's and a lot. Of,
Yeah.
like a lot of their weapons, you would kind of you'll read their names and be like, who?
Exactly.
But they're winning games with them.
They
So
have no
I mean,
wide
you know,
receivers.
well, I mean, they spent their first 3 draft picks last year on wide receivers. They
Yeah.
knew they had a problem. And they
Yeah,
had to
Corey
get
Davis,
Mariota
yeah.
weapons. So
Could he go to the Bears?
No.
I mean,
no,
or do you
I
think
think
they're-
Trubisky's the
do
guy
you think
there.
they're-
To me,
do you think Trubisky's the guy?
Yeah.
How about the Bengals?
maybe
Ooh.
He's better than Andy Dalton.
He's not better than Andy Dalton.
Andy Dalton's had better
that could be
weapons.
a topic next
Yeah.
year.
It could be a topic next week.
I think Andy Dalton's still their guy.
Andy Dalton.
I think
No.
it's
No.
time
I
to
think they
move
need
past.
to rebuild. Get rid of Marvin Lewis.
Here's
get
the
rid of
thing.
Andy
This is my thing with the
Dalton,
Bengals.
keep AJ
How
Green.
often can you continue to put the same product out and expect a different result?
Exactly.
That's true.
I mean,
It's
I
the
mean, they don't
exact
make
same
splashes in free agency. They
Nope.
don't draft well. It's
Nope.
like how they
Their defense
obviously. I'm
is poor.
sorry, you know, Blaine. They don't coach well.
Nope.
It's how can you expect to put the same product out there and expect
Exactly.
a different result?
Over-
It doesn't make
it's-
sense to
it's
me. I've said this for years about the Bengals. It doesn't make sense to me.
It's the exact same team every year.
You
They
see
need
why
to
fans
figure
wanna
out their
move on?
defense
Just
because their
saying.
defense is terrible.
You see why fans want to move on? I mean, I'm not the only Bengals fan who wants to jump ship because it's a thing of them putting out the same product, not caring. Like, I mean, this is I don't think we need to get into this now, but like, it's annoying.
You know, I'm with you, Blaine. I hated that I dogged on you in the beginning of this because if the Giants would have kept rolling with Ben McAdoo, I definitely would have jumped ship.
He was not a good.
I don't have to worry about that because we jump ship from our coaches every other day. It feels like.
That's true. But
All right, so I think that's where we're gonna wrap it up for today on the first episode of the Sort of Stupid Sports podcast. Round of
Great
applause.
job. Good job. Let's get through
Episode
one.
number 1 is
Got
in the
through
books.
one.
Woo!
yeah,
And claps
High
all
fives.
around.
High fives
Yeah.
all around.
yeah.
So
For those listening, we just clapped and high-fived around the table.
you can probably hear. You
We
can
self
Yeah, I
high
know,
fived.
I-
We self
yeah.
high fived, and then we
And
high
then
fived.
we
Yeah.
high-fived others.
Yes.
So
That's what we do here.
we will see you guys next week.
Yep, we're gonna try to keep this a weekly thing.
Hope you enjoyed.
Yeah, and throughout the time that you listen to us, you'll hear us talk about other sports, not just the NFL, but
The
This
best
is-
sport in basketball.
The NFL is the most prevalent.
Yeah,
it's
it
the
is
most
right now.
important
Yeah.
right now. Yeah.
That's the best one. Anyway,
Anyway, so
College.
we're gonna sign off real quick. Thank you for listening. I'm Matthew,
I am Noah.
I am Blaine.
I'm Troy.
I am Darren.
and we are the Sort of Stupid Sports Podcasters. I don't know.
Woo.
So we'll see you guys later.
All right.
You're welcome. Breaking news: the Los Angeles Rams have signed running back C.J. Anderson.
Yeah, you thought we were done. We all thought we were done. Guys, Anderson said we weren't done yet. So
I'm gonna lose our championship.
Who are you playing?
Yeah, David, who apparently got hot in the last minute.
So,
good
like,
team.
here's the thing with this: they're signing him just for the rest of the season as like their backup.
I'll say, but my question is that it though?
What do you mean?
Do you think he's cut at the end of the season?
I think they'll keep him.
Because
I
my
think
thing is,
keep him-
I'm telling you right now, C.J. Anderson will help a lot in the playoffs.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
not a bad running
Yeah, they'll probably
Yeah.
keep him through the playoffs. I wouldn't doubt
But
it.
I mean, he won't get always as many snaps.
maybe he'll
It's
stay
not
there a
good.
year,
Yeah,
another year.
Nah, maybe just end
Yeah, I mean, trust me, you can do a lot worse in your backup department than C.J.
I would agree.
I mean, as we all know, Todd Gurley got a little banged up last game, which is not good for me, as he is my running back on my fantasy team.
I don't want to talk about fantasy right now.
Yeah,
I
no-
literally
no
had
one cares
3 of
about
the
your
worst
fantasy.
players this last week.
This is the first time I've ever
In
played fantasy.
Aaron Jones, Eric
I have
Ebron,
Aaron Jones.
Tyreek freaking Hill.
Anyway,
I don't want to talk about fantasy right now.
Yeah. So we just had to bring you that breaking news that we think that C.J. Anderson could help them out a little bit.
But they still won't get the first seed, in my opinion. But they'll probably get the bye.
Do you think he's who's their current running back?
Marlon Brown or something.
So he's
like that.
obviously
some
an
dude
upgrade.
that
He's an upgrade.
like
So
But
I mean, if anything,
don't
he
want-
brings an experienced mind. to
and
that.
you don't want Jared Goff to throw it 50 times because
Like, when you get into
he
this
never
section
doing it
towards the
with Todd
playoffs.
Gurley though, because he briefly exited, but he came back into the game with that knee injury. So it's not like that's 2 times in a row that Jared Goff has thrown 40-plus passes in a
And
game.
they lost.
And they've lost both of them.
Like I said earlier, one thing I can't stress enough, like when it comes around playoff time, experience is so important.
Which
So I mean,
is
a guy
why-
like CJ Anderson who has a ring, I mean, he's going to be able to help, Malcolm Brown or whatever these young guys are,
The ring dude that nobody knows.
Yeah.
Man.
All right, that's it for real this time. See you
Have a
guys.
good one.
Later.
Peace.